Zeno showed us the limits of logic, but the questions left by the paradoxes still linger. Today in Sicily, we meet a new man who is trying to answer these questions. Empedocles. Atlas, this Empedocles really seems like a strange philosopher. I heard that he declared himself a god. Is that true?
Yes, Empedocles was quite a colorful character. He was a philosopher, a poet, a healer, and even a mystic who saw himself as a god. But beyond all these extraordinary traits, he had powerful ideas about the universe and motion.
Right now, I have only one question on my mind. When there was someone like Zeno, a master of logic, why did Empedocles choose such a mystical and poetic path?
Because Zeno had already shown us the limits of logic. Empedocles, on the other hand, stepped outside the bounds of logic and used a different language to understand the universe. According to him, the universe should be explained by four fundamental elements: fire, air, water, and earth.
So why these four elements? Isn't that a bit too simple?
Things that seem simple are usually the deepest. According to Empedocles, all change in the universe was made up of the endless combinations and separations of these elements. But there were two great forces that set them in motion: love and strife.
Wait a minute. Are you saying the universe is ruled by emotions now? I think I'm starting to miss Zeno.
Hold on, maybe Empedocles can surprise you.
All right, I'm trying to get used to the idea of four elements. But why fire, air, water, and earth? Why not other elements?
Because according to Empedocles, the entire universe is a mixture of these four elements in different proportions. These elements are eternal, unchanging, and indivisible. But they can combine and separate. And what enables this combination and separation are two fundamental forces: love and strife.
So are we actually constantly being shaped by love and strife?
Absolutely. For Empedocles, love brings unity and harmony. Strife, on the other hand, brings separation and chaos. These two forces are in a constant struggle, and this is exactly what sets the universe in motion.
I think Empedocles must have read too much love poetry, but I admit, his idea is intriguing. So do these elements really never change?
Yes. According to Empedocles, the elements themselves do not change, only their forms change. What you see as a tree today can turn into earth, water, and fire tomorrow.
Isn't that a bit strange? I mean, we're constantly turning into other things and all that.
For Empedocles, what's strange isn't the transformation itself, but the fact that we're unaware of it. We're all part of an endless transformation within the universe, but most of the time we can't see it.
So maybe Empedocles is trying to introduce us, not just to the universe, but also a little bit to ourselves. Are you seriously saying now that the universe turns because of love and hate? So physics and chemistry are set aside and emotions have taken their place?
Actually, yes. But what Empedocles means by love and hate aren't the human emotions we know. These are the fundamental forces that set the universe in motion. Love unites the elements, while hate separates them. In this way, the universe is formed in a constant state of balance and struggle.
So should we think of everything in the universe as if it's in relationship therapy?
Almost like that. According to Empedocles, the universe operates in cycles. Sometimes love prevails and the elements unite, and sometimes hate dominates and everything separates. This process goes on forever.
So at what stage is the universe right now?
Right now, we are in a phase that oscillates between love and hate. In the universe, there is neither complete unity nor total separation. So we are in a chaotic period.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised. So it seems our universe is in a rather unstable relationship.
Yes, that's where the greatness of Empedocles lies. He showed us that the universe is in a constant search for balance. That's why he says everything changes, and the only thing that remains constant is the essence of the elements.
So then, according to Empedocles, could we say that love and strife are actually the universe's way of breathing in and out?
We can definitely say that. And this breathing in and out leads us into an endless cycle.
We're talking about an endless cycle. But in that case, according to Empedocles, what is death? So if everything is constantly coming together and breaking apart, what happens to us after we die?
This is where Empedocles says something different. According to him, death is simply a change of form. When we die, our elements separate and then come together again in another being. This means the rebirth of the soul.
So did Empedocles believe in reincarnation?
Yes, but he grounds this in a very philosophical way. According to him, our souls are nothing more than the coming together and separation of elements. We are in an endless cycle and are constantly being reborn in different forms.
Now you've scared me. According to Empedocles, maybe I was an olive tree in a past life?
Or maybe you were a fish. But that doesn't matter. Empedocles reminds us of this. Nothing in the universe ever truly disappears. Every death is the beginning of a new life.
That's actually kind of comforting. So if nothing is ever lost, then we don't need to be afraid of death?
Yes, maybe that's exactly what Empedocles is telling us. Death is not the end, it's just a part of endless transformation.
I guess this Empedocles really is an interesting figure. While we're lost in the cycle of the universe, he reminds us of eternity. Now, we've explained the universe with 4 elements and 2 emotions. All right. But what about us? What is a human being for Empedocles? How does our nature work?
Here too, Empedocles offers an interesting perspective. According to him, humans, just like the universe, are formed from the combination of the 4 elements. But we humans interpret this combination through our senses.
So, do our senses deceive us?
We can't exactly say that. Our senses are actually accurate but limited. Because according to Empedocles, everything we perceive is nothing more than the combination of elements in different proportions. We are simply interpreting these combinations.
Now I'm confused. So, the apple I see isn't really an apple?
It is an apple, but it's just a form created by the combination of elements. According to Empedocles, reality is deeper than what we see. We can only perceive the surface.
So is Empedocles telling us not to trust our eyes too much?
Maybe a little bit. But more than that, he's saying, the world you see is only a small part of reality. A human being is a small but meaningful combination within this vast universe.
I guess Empedocles is calling us to be a bit more humble.
Yes, that's exactly right. Because the universe is much bigger, much more complex, and humans are just a part of it.
In Empedocles' philosophy, the universe is made up of 4 elements, okay. But who governs these elements? Is there a god involved in all this?
According to Empedocles, there are gods, but not in the way we understand them. He sees nature itself as divine. In other words, nature itself is God. The elements, the forces of love and strife, all of these are divine parts of nature.
So nature is already divine?
Exactly. For Empedocles, God is not a being separate from nature. God is within nature and one with it. So Empedocles was a true pantheist?
Then why did he declare himself a god? Isn't that a bit egotistical?
It was a bit, yes. But actually, Empedocles saw everyone as divine, because we are all made of the same elements and the same forces. We are all part of this divine nature.
I guess what Empedocles is telling us is that God is not outside, but within us and everywhere in nature.
Absolutely. That's exactly what makes Empedocles' philosophy so fascinating. According to him, there is no boundary between humans, nature, and God. They are all part of a unity.
I think I'll look at nature a little differently from now on, because Empedocles enables us to recognize the divine essence within the universe. So far, we've gotten to know Empedocles as a philosopher, but from what I've heard, there are also some very strange stories about him. Is it really true that he jumped into Mount Etna?
That's actually one of the things that makes Empedocles so fascinating. To some, he was a philosopher, to others, a magician, and to some, even a god. According to legend, Empedocles jumped into Mount Etna to prove his divinity and then disappeared.
Should we really believe this story?
Actually, this story is a reflection of Empedocles' mystical persona. Maybe he didn't actually jump into the volcano, but the very existence of such legends shows how people perceived him.
So, was Empedocles deliberately presenting himself as a bit mysterious and magical?
Absolutely. Empedocles was actually very skilled at using the power of myths and symbols. He may have resorted to such methods to attract people's attention and make his messages more effective.
Now, Empedocles kind of seems like a popular singer to me. I mean, he puts on a bit of a show, adds a touch of mystery, and so on.
You're right. Empedocles was truly one of the first figures to make philosophy popular. But behind this mystery, there was also a deep philosophical message.
I guess Empedocles really understood us humans well. To get us to the truth, he first had to capture our attention. We've talked about Empedocles' mystical and mythological side, okay? But you also said he had a scientific side. Did this man really make any contributions to science?
Yes, and he made major contributions. For example, Empedocles developed important theories about vision. According to him, light does not come out of our eyes. On the contrary, we see thanks to the light reflected from objects into our eyes. This is actually the foundation of modern optical science.
Really? So Empedocles realized this 2,000 years ago?
Exactly. We can say that Empedocles' theory of the 4 elements laid the foundation for modern chemistry. The idea that all matter is made up of basic components is still valid today.
So how did Empedocles make these scientific discoveries? I mean, with all that mythology and mysticism, how did he find time for science?
Because according to Empedocles, nature had to be examined from every angle. His mystical approach did not exclude science. On the contrary, it supported it. Empedocles believed that there were many ways to understand nature and that all of them should be used.
So was Empedocles actually a figure who combined philosophy, mythology, and science?
Yes, that's exactly right. Empedocles reminds us that true knowledge emerges when we bring together different fields.
I guess Empedocles is telling us that we should think not just in one way, but in every way. A truly versatile philosopher. I'm still thinking about that Etna story. Did Empedocles really jump into the volcano? Why would anyone do such a thing?
The answer to that question is still unknown. Some say it was symbolic. Others think that Empedocles really did jump into the volcano in an attempt to make himself immortal.
Jumping into a volcano to become immortal? Isn't that a bit illogical?
Even if it seems illogical, it might have made perfect sense to Empedocles. He saw himself as belonging to the infinite cycle of the universe. Perhaps this act was a symbolic expression of his union with that endless cycle.
So by doing this, was Empedocles actually embodying his philosophy?
Absolutely. If this story is true, it shows that Empedocles united his philosophy with his life. But it might not be true. Maybe it's just a myth that people attributed to him.
In that case, maybe what's important isn't whether Empedocles jumped into the volcano, but why people chose to tell such a story about him.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because Empedocles sparked people's imagination. By presenting his philosophy, his life, and his death as a legend, he strengthened his messages.
I think Empedocles is telling us that sometimes reality is less important than myths, because myths convey the truth to us more effectively. As we talked about Empedocles, I actually learned a lot about the universe. But I still have one question on my mind. Even if we accept Empedocles' elements and his theory of love and strife, how do we explain the order in the universe?
And this is exactly where another philosopher steps onto the stage in Athens. His name is Anaxagoras. While Empedocles spoke of love and strife, Anaxagoras tried to explain the order of the universe with a single thing. Nous, that is mind.
Wait a minute, does the universe have a mind?
Yes, according to Anaxagoras, it is the mind that organizes everything in the universe. There is no such thing as chance, only mind exists, and the order of the universe is realized thanks to this mind.
So does Empedocles' emotional universe give way to a more rational universe in this case?
Exactly. Empedocles' endless cycle and the chaotic combination of elements are replaced in Anaxagoras by an orderly, rational, and governed universe. This also confronts us with new and much bigger questions.
I guess as we travel from Sicily to Athens, we actually start to look at the universe from a different perspective.
Absolutely. Anaxagoras, by completing what Empedocles left unfinished, will show us that the universe is not a chain of coincidences, but rather is governed by a mind.
Then now we set out for Athens and discover the power of the mind. Empedocles showed us the profound transformation of the universe. But what lies behind this transformation? Is it chance or is it a conscious order? For the answer to these questions, let's now listen to Anaxagoras in Athens. Because philosophy always leads us to the next question,